This is a day that the Lord has made, and we shall rejoice and be glad in it. I am Pastor Christine Peebles, and I'm going to briefly talk to you about my book, I Overcame by the Blood of the Lamb. This book, I was inspired by God to write. And let me say something else. I live in Swainsboro, Georgia, and I have been living here since the age of 5. My grandparents raised me. And about this book, all down through the years, God would deal with me and he would bring things to me, and I would write down things that he would say unto me. He would speak unto me. He would wake me up even during the night and speak things to me. And whatever time I was awakened, I would write whatever God told me. And I knew that one day I would write a book, and I thought the book would be written from the things that I had jotted down. But on June 23rd, 2015, I was in my early morning prayer, even as I normally do. And as I began to pray, I heard the Lord say, it's time to write the book. And when the Lord told me that, he said, I want you to title it, I Overcame by the Blood of the Lamb. And God told me, he said, I want you to start writing today. So I jumped up off of my knees and I went to Walgreens and I bought a journal. And I started writing that same day. Now, this book, I Overcame by the Blood of the Lamb, there's a whole lot of things in my life, or has been in my life. This book cannot tell, or I could not write everything that I have been through, even from a child. Amen. But as I began to write, and it was just so amazing because there are things that happen in my life that nobody never knew about. I never talked to anybody. But then all of a sudden, June the 23rd, 2015, God had me writing. God had me to open up and tell things that it would go all over the nation and even in other countries about my life that I never talked to anybody about. There were times in my life that, to me, I really didn't feel like living. I had a husband, and one day, my husband wrote me a letter. And he told me, he said, I don't want you no more. And the next time you see me, you're going to see me with a real woman. I mean, I hadn't done anything. And I kind of felt like life could not go on without him. But the one thing that I found out when I allowed Jesus to come in my life. You know, I went in my bathroom, got down on my knees in front of the commode. I didn't know nothing about praying, but one thing I learned, you talk to God according to what's in your heart. For he said in his word, it's not that goes into the mouth that defiles a man. He said, but it is that comes out of the heart. And you know, that's what I did. I talked to God out of my heart. And in talking to God, it was a godless sorrow come upon me for my sins. And once my sins were forgiven, then I received the precious gift of the Holy Ghost. And I tell you, Jesus, he has made life worth living. And the man that I thought I couldn't live without, I discovered, and I know now, it is Jesus that I cannot live without. Some things happen in my life I didn't want to talk about it. But receiving the Holy Ghost, receiving Christ in my life. And you know, I began to ask God, why did you let these things or allow these things to happen to me when you knew what type morals I had? See, I didn't have nobody to teach me anything, but I had it made up in my mind that I would be a virgin until the day that I got married or would get married. And these are the type morals that I had. In February the 4th, 1970, my baby sister was born, and my mother lived in Augusta. And I caught the Greyhound bus and went to Augusta to be with my siblings while she was in the hospital. I was abducted from the Greyhound bus station, and I was raped. And I just really felt like at any given time I was going to lose my mind. And this is the one thing, the marriage, that hurted. But the one thing that helped me to find my way to the foot of the cross is that in me being victimized, I overcame by the blood of the Lamb. I contemplated suicide if I would have been pregnant. But thanks be to God, he didn't suffer that to be. And I began to ask God, after being saved, Lord, why did you allow this to happen to me when you knew that I had morals and what my plans were? Amen. But you know, God told me, he said, I suffered this to happen unto you. He said, for such a time as it is now. God told me, he said, with the ministry that I given unto you, I was going to give unto you, he said, in this ministry, you would come in contact with many people that have gone through what you are going through, what you have gone through. And God began to let me know that he allowed that to happen to me then for such a time as this. That I would have the testimony after being raped. I didn't have to turn into a lesbian. After being raped, I didn't lose my mind. After being raped, oh my Lord, I didn't commit suicide. Some people don't make it through those type things and situations. And in this book, I overcame by the blood of the Lamb. That is exactly how I overcame, by the blood of the Lamb. And God has allowed so many other people to overcome by the words of my testimony. And even with this book, I overcame by the blood of the Lamb, has caused many others to overcome. I pray that in whosoever hands this book shall enter into, that you will be an overcomer, even as I am an overcomer. Thank you, and God bless everyone that shall have the opportunity to read this book. There shall be a mighty deliverance. Again, I'm Pastor Christine Peebles, pastor of Victory Temple Ministry of Reconciliation in Swainsboro, Georgia. God bless you.